what advice and what did you learn during your time of being acquired that you would like to pass on?
Product is the most important thing. Product, making it better, making it different. When I started Ultimate Hoops, I didn't have an exit strategy. I wasn't even thinking about acquisition. It was all about every single week, how can I make the product better, make these players feel like NBA players? What's another layer we can add on? Like I mentioned before, let's do post-game interviews. Okay, let's do podcasting. That was the sole focus.
Welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Wealth podcast. I'm your host, Andres Sanchez, and today I have Alan Arlt. He is the founder of Ultimate Hoops. He is also the founder of Arlt Consulting Company. We're going to talk a ton about sports, a ton about what he's doing in that industry. This is going to be a unique conversation. I don't think that I've had anybody on the show to this date that is this ingrained into the sports industry and doing this cool thing. So, Alan, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks. Great to be here. And you had to pronounce my last name twice in the opening sentence. And you nailed it. So good credit to you.
Hey, we got to start somewhere, right? We might as well start on a roll.
Yeah, you're cooking already.
Thank you. So I always like to give my guests the ability to just give us a quick overview of who you are, what you're building, and then from there, we'll dive into all of the questions I've got for you to understand your journey.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on your podcast. First of all, let's start there. But yeah, I'm a executive who's been in the sports industry for over 20, 25 years, who never had ambitions of being in the sports industry. I was a typical sports kid, played all types of sports growing up, played on the high school basketball team, and then spent 10 years in the advertising industry in New York City as well. And it was just by playing in bad recreational sports experiences that I got the bug to start an own business in the sports industry as well. So, I took my two great passions, creativity and sports, and kind of melded those things together and have built a pretty unique and interesting sports career out of cobbling together something where I went to college as an English major. So I find myself being here in the sports industry is an interesting place at this time in my career.
That's awesome. And I have to ask, did you play a bunch of sports growing up? Were you a sports guy before you went professional?
I played baseball, I played basketball, I played football, I played soccer, I played everything. But for me, and I tell this story a lot and how it kind of translated into Ultimate Hoops, I was a huge sports geek as well. So I was one of these kids that would study every box score in the paper, who would play these board games and create NBA box scores. I'd be in my driveway pretending I was Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and keeping stats that way. Never knew how that would end up in my adult career as well. So I think it served me well that I love playing the sports. I love being in the community of sports, but also creating a really unique experience around stats and data that has lended well to Ultimate Hoop success and has served me well in advising clients today.
I love it. I'd love to start with the Ultimate Hoop story. That was your first stab at being in the sports industry and your first big success. Where did the interest for Ultimate Hoops come from, and what did the origin story look like?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, it was really started. I wanted to build a product that I was not experiencing myself. So again, I was living in New York in my 20s. I was playing in a lot of bad recreational basketball leagues where you would go there and you would play your game and you wouldn't think about the recreational sports game until the following week. And you had people in T-shirts, maybe there was one ref, and then you'd go out afterward and everybody would say they had 20 points when they actually had 10. And that was not the experience I was looking for. And I would go to Knicks games and I would see NBA players, and I would make the correlation of there's 350 players that play in the NBA, but there's 28 million like me that wish I could feel like an NBA player for like 1 second. So I knew I couldn't create NBA arenas across the country, but what I could do is create a digital experience that would make you feel like a professional. So the concept behind Ultimate Hoops was we're going to take a 1 day a week experience and make it a 7 day a week experience and give you full stats, give you full videos, highlights, podcasts. So whether you play like Alan Arlt or play like LeBron James, we're going to treat you like LeBron James. And I knew that I would want to play in a league like that. So that was really the idea the genesis behind coming up with the format for Ultimate Hoops, and started it back here in my hometown of Minneapolis in 2006. And the business grew very, very fast. We went from 5 to 40 teams in less than a year. And then we were acquired by Lifetime in 2008. And I've really spent the last 15 years just expanding the business within Lifetime.
That's awesome. And I'm curious, like, putting myself in a potential customer's shoes or a potential basketball player's shoes, what does that experience look like for me today if I signed up for a Ultimate Hoops League? And what are some of the things that I get from it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, as I mentioned before, it's not something you would get in a standard recreational basketball league experience. So when you sign up for Ultimate Hoops, we take the view of actually playing in the game should be the least impactful thing of playing in Ultimate Hoops. So what we provide is you're going to get your own player profile, and it's going to show you stats from that game, but it's also going to track all your career stats as well. It's going to create a PPV, player performance value, on top of your performance, like Hollinger does in the NBA. You're going to get power ranked. You're going to accumulate games that make you eligible for the Hall of Fame. And you're also going to be eligible to play in national tournaments that happen in New York, Las Vegas, and then we just launched a new one in Dallas as well. So if you are not feeling like an NBA player after every single game and every single week and playing in Ultimate Hoops, we're not doing our job and we're not serving you well. So that has always been our North Star, is to make our players feel like an NBA player every week.
That's awesome. And like, I'm thinking about it from my perspective. Like, I'll go to my local park and shoot some hoops, and I would be much more motivated to go constantly if I had stats to keep up, if I wanted to continue to play. So I could totally see how this is a really exciting breakthrough for people that love basketball. And I know that's like one of the sports that has that cult following, has people that play every week to this day. They could be 30, 40 years old. Maybe a little bit off topic, but like, is there the goal to do this across more sports? Like, I immediately think of soccer and how much I obviously live in Miami, so there's a little bit of a demographic for that, but I see people play pickup soccer all the time. Is that a goal of what you're building?
Yeah, because I think, Andres, what we're delivering for Ultimate Hoops is not sport specific. What we're delivering is the experience, right? And making you feel like a professional athlete. So the same model applies. We can make you feel like a professional volleyball player, professional soccer player. Like, we have the framework and format to apply that to other sports. So through my consulting business today, we're taking a lot of those learnings and a lot of those strategies that we've used for Ultimate Hoops, and we're applying those to different sports today as well. So you're spot on. It's about the experience. It's not about the sports, and it's easily transferable to different sports across the country and across the globe.
That's awesome. Yeah, I guess this is a good segue to talk more about Arlt Consulting. Like, that's what your main focus is now. That's what you're building out. What does that look like? What are some of the projects you're working on now? And let's kind of peel through it.
Yeah. So again, I did not plan to start a sports consulting agency as well. That was not on my career roadmap. But around 2017, 2018, when Ultimate Hoops was really taking off and we were really this national brand, high reach, I was just starting to get calls from random people or DMs in my LinkedIn or on X saying, "Hey, Alan, can you give me 15 minutes? I'd just love to pick your brain about this new league I'm starting, or Ultimate Hoops has inspired me to do this," where I just started taking some of these calls. And a 15-minute call turned into like a 45-minute call because I just loved the startup process and working with people. And like, I hadn't had that for 15 years because the Ultimate Hoops business was already built. And I said, man, this does not feel like work. It's super fun. And I can work with a lot of different people. So I started just doing it kind of on the side and pro bono. And then after COVID, gave me a chance to really kind of reset on what I wanted to do long term. I knew I always wanted to have one little toe in the Ultimate Hoops business, but man, I feel like my career got rejuvenated again by being in a startup mode for multiple companies. So, my clients today really cover the globe, or cover the gamut of the industry. So I have facility partners who may want to bring our company in to build out programming within these 7 or 8 core facilities that they're building out. I'm doing a lot of work in the AI sports technology space as well. So applying computer vision and AI technology to make sports businesses more efficient, but also more dynamic for their customers as well. And then I also work with high-level college athletes that want to stay in the sports industry. They know their sport, they know how to train, but they may not know how to manage a P&L or put together a marketing strategy. We work with that group as well. So it's all over the board. We do a lot of revenue monetization, marketing, a lot of things out of the box. And I have great partners and great teammates here at Arlt Consulting Company that I can lean on as well. So it's been great.
That's awesome. And I already have 2 people in mind that I want to connect you with offline that are in my network that I think a conversation with you would be valuable to both sides.
Love it.
Because this is just a really interesting industry to me. Obviously, like I mentioned before we started rolling, I played sports my whole life, all the way up to college. I'm passionate about sports. I love them. And I don't get to talk to enough people that are building companies in sports. It feels like an area which maybe I'm completely wrong with this, but it feels like an area that doesn't get a lot of entrepreneurship love. Like there's not a ton of people building really awesome businesses that are getting the publicity to online and different things. So I'm curious, like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see for some of these entrepreneurs that want to build in sports?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you're right. I think the sports industry has been looked at as kind of like this side project that doesn't really inspire a lot of innovation. They're not embracing a lot of technology that's happening today. It's a lot of the systems we're finding today are still very rudimentary, pen and paper, Excel forms, and a lot of these leagues and with officials as well. So I think there's a lot of green space, not only using technology today to make a better consumer experience, which then drives pricing power, but also to make a lot of these sports businesses more efficient as well. AI, which I'm finding out, is not just about creating a better consumer experience. It's about making your businesses more efficient, where you don't have to maybe staff as many people as you used to, and using AI technology as well. So I think it's just educating the sports industry internally, but also for me, telling that story outside of the sports industry is that there's a lot of good investment space within the sports industry. It's a space that continues to grow, and it's not going away. People are going to continue to play sports. You're seeing sports participation in the youth levels higher than they were in COVID in some sectors. So there's a lot of space there, a lot of energy, and a lot of sports technology companies are popping up as well. So my phone does not stop ringing. So I'm in a good spot right now, and I'm feeling good about it.
I love it. And like for you now, obviously you're talking about leveraging AI. I am somebody, and so I actively am trying to work on these things. Like I listen to you talk about sports AI. I already know 10 things about it. I've seen use cases for it. Most people don't. So I want to ask, like, from your side, what does it look like with AI blending itself into sports? What are some of the use cases you're seeing for it? And what are some of the things that you're really excited about from a consumer and a founder standpoint from AI?
Yeah, great question. What has been the biggest learning for me and the exciting space for me is how accessible AI technology is becoming for the lower end of the funnel, right? My understanding of AI before I got dropped into it was it's very high end and very capital intensive. So you look at Synergy Sports that does a lot of the AI technology for the NBA and other sports. I thought that was the only entry point. And now I'm working with a company called Sports Visio in Boston, who's actually trying to commoditize AI technology and make it super accessible for a league charging $99 a player to actually use AI technology. So I think AI is expanding, and I think there's businesses inside of there that are focused on the high-end B2B client, but also focusing more on the B2B and even B2C using AI technology to make it accessible to the masses. And to be honest, if it was still very much top of the funnel, I wouldn't be as excited about AI, and I probably wouldn't have as many clients or as many use cases for it. The fact that we're getting disrupted on the bottom of the funnel makes it super exciting. It gives me more options for my clients.
Yeah, AI is decreasing in cost every day. It's becoming more accessible for founders at any level. I mean, I personally, in my business here, I have one employee, which is an editor. I can't completely outsource editing. I will eventually, but I'm able to run a podcast newsletter, upload to every platform, create clips, edit everything, and like have my podcast completely done and newsletter completely done as basically a solo employee working a full-time job. That would be next to near impossible 2 years ago without
Right.
these AI tools. And they cost me less than $100 a month. It is wild. And I
Yeah.
think for sports, like I remember back, like for baseball, which is a sport that I played, it was all about perfect game. It was, you had to be at the
Mhm.
perfect game tournaments.
Yep.
You had to have your perfect game rating and all these things. And they used to have hundreds of employees out there taking times, writing numbers down, holding radar guns. That's all pretty much done. Like all of it's now, I saw recently, it's all pretty much done through software and AI tools that have the kid's number, they scan them in, they run the 60 yard or they run their 60 time, they throw from the outfield, it's all clipped in. Like it's just mind blowing how many awesome use cases this is bringing to light, where companies now can become uber more profitable,
Exactly.
like a perfect game. And I'm sure you're seeing that in basketball and all these other sports as well.
Exactly. And it's not just a perfect game or a sports physio that necessarily needs to deliver that experience. There's companies out there where a mom and dad can just stand behind home plate and record a game or record a moment and throw it into AI, and suddenly they have stats and video highlights as well. So it's getting disrupted all the way down through the chain as well, which is great for consumers. It gives them more control, more choices. It makes it more flexible. They don't have to sign up long-term contracts, and it's reducing the costs on the top end of the market as well with Perfect Game and some of these other companies that we're working with. So yeah, it's an exciting time. It feels like every 2 weeks there's a new white paper on AI that comes out that kind of resets everything. But that's super exciting. And listen, I'm in the third chapter of my career right now, and I knew when I stepped away from Ultimate Hoops is I still wanted to build businesses, but I didn't want to build businesses with the past. I wanted to build it with the future and keep learning and keep growing. And diving into this AI space, and listen, I'm not a computer engineer, I'm more of a marketing business operator, has been super exciting, sometimes intimidating, but I love where the market's going. It's really a great time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And you alluded to your founder journey, your time as a founder in building businesses. You've had an extensive career. Typically, our audience is on the younger side, just starting out their career, just starting to decide what they want to do. What advice could you give to the younger wannabe or younger entrepreneur listening about building a successful career?
This is probably going against the grain of what you typically hear is follow your passion, start your own company. I really recommend anybody with entrepreneurial aspirations is to work within a large company for a few years. Ultimate Hoops, I can tell you, would not have been as successful without my 10 years of working for Turner Broadcasting and Discovery Networks in New York and understanding marketing, how to bring something to market, relationships, sales. So building a foundation first before you go out and start your own business is super valuable. Does that have to be a decade? No, maybe it's 1 or 2 years, but there's just such foundational things that you can learn from large organizations and corporations, not to mention relationships, that is super valuable. So when I'll talk to colleges and have I'll do a few speaking engagements here, and I always tell them, like, I know you're hungry to go out and start your own business at 18, but man, I don't want to sound like the old guy in the room either, but man, it would help to just go out and work at a large company and learn for a couple of years. So that's my advice: is get some real real experience at large companies because it will help you.
I love that. And that's something that I actually preach on a regular basis. Like I mentioned, I'm not doing this full time yet. I work at, I don't know, I think it's like the 13th or 14th biggest company in the world. I don't say it publicly on the podcast.
Sure.
But I am a huge advocate for learn great skills on someone else's dime. Like
Right.
I am leveraging my company. I'm in sales. In that role at this big company, they are paying me to learn how to cold email, learn how to sell to prospects, learn how to build long relationships, learn how to work with people. Those skills all directly transition into my businesses that I'm building on the side. And I am not losing money building them. I am actually getting paid to learn how to build them. And I mention that to people all the time. And you get the groans and like, but like, I don't want to work for a big corporate company. And I'm personally in the boat of like, if you can get one of these big corporate companies to pay you six figures out of college, which it's crazy, that's not uncommon, and it is very possible. If you're going into a sales type role or some of these marketing type roles, why would you not do that and build on the side for the first 2-3 years while you acquire all these skills and then actually be able to put the right resources into building a successful company? I can't comprehend why that's not the best possible route. And I love that that's the advice that comes to mind for you as well.
Yeah. And don't feel like, if you want to be an entrepreneur at 18, then you put the pressure on yourself like, man, I got to come up with a great product now, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes products, for me, it took 10 years of not even thinking about it. And then one day you have this knowledge and it hits with an inspiration or a spark like it did for me with Ultimate Hoops playing in a recreational basketball league. You never know when it's going to happen. So why take that pressure at 18 years old? Like, keep your eyes open, work hard, learn a lot, and be ready when that moment of inspiration hits you, because you'll have all the tools to actually put it in action and be successful.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. Curious, like going back through your adventures of building all of these businesses, and now you're in this consulting one, you're getting to work with a bunch of cool companies. Do you have a story that comes to mind as like a breakthrough point for you, a moment where there was a big challenge and it was kind of like one of those make or break moments and you broke through and were successful?
Yeah, I've told this story a few times, but I think it's worth repeating because it does speak to the core. I talked about before, the core experience of Ultimate Hoops and making it successful. And it was very early on. I think we were just maybe 4 or 5 months into doing Ultimate Hoops here in Minneapolis. This is pre-acquisition by Lifetime. And at that moment, I had just been doing stats, like full stats box scores. And then on the way to the game one night, I was going there with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, Mary. And I said, I'm going to try something tonight. And if it works, Ultimate Hoops is going to be a smash success. And she's like, what is it? I said, I'm going to try and do a post-game interview with a recreational basketball player and treat it like it's a post-game interview you'd see on TNT or ESPN. And I said, one or two things is going to happen. One, the player's going to look at me and be like, why are you sticking a microphone in my face? I'm at a recreational basketball league. I want to play my game. Go away. Or number two, the other thing's going to happen, and this player is going to start talking like an NBA player that they've seen do post-game interviews and start using some of that language, and they're going to totally embrace the moment. And so I did it, and luckily the second thing happened. The first player I pulled over, I felt like I was interviewing like LeBron or Luka. Like they just started using all those euphemisms of NBA, and they totally embraced it. And I remember I drove home with Mary that night, and I was so like emotional and feel like this is going to work. And that really took us off because that showed me that players want to escape. They want to be more than just playing basketball and the sport. And it was magic. So I tell people a lot when I advise with them and their products, I said, what's your magic moment in your product? How are you going to make these people feel special? Because there's so much competition in the marketplace today. If you're not different, you're dead. And a great advisor to me told me that a long time ago, and I've tried to stick with that. So, Yeah, I think that's the one that always sticks with me. And it's always a reminder when I'm talking to clients, it's like, what's that post-game interview moment? Like, what's that thing that's going to really tell you how your business is different?
I love that. And I could see how a player would love it too. And I could see how it could make for fantastic content on social media as well, which we all know. Social media, that's where the dollars and cents come from. Eyeballs equals money at this point. Distribution is everything. So I think
Yeah,
that's a
and you
super cool
gotta you
moment.
gotta think about too, like just to time travel a bit. This was in 2007, so this is
That's
when Facebook was just getting started. Twitter at that time was just getting started. For me to do post game interviews, I had to use like a real camera and edit it on iMovie. It wasn't like IG and everything else. The tools were so archaic, and I was up till 4 a.m. cutting film. And I say this like, man, if I was to start Ultimate Hoops now, in one way, it'd be so easy from a tools and technology standpoint, but it would be a much more crowded space today as
yeah,
well. So I think it was the right time at the right moment.
that's awesome. One thing that you mentioned a few times here was that Ultimate Hoops was acquired by Lifetime. Um, Anytime I get the chance to talk to a founder that sold a company, I always like to ask about it because I know it's a goal for a lot of founders, it's a goal for a lot of people listening, but it also presents a ton of challenges and creates a lot of tough situations if you're not doing it the right way. What advice and what did you learn during your time of being acquired that you would like to pass on?
Uh, it's simple. Product is the most important thing. Product, making it better, making it different. When I started Ultimate Hoops, I didn't have an exit strategy. I wasn't even thinking about acquisition. It was all about every single week. How can I make the product better? Make these players feel like NBA players. What's another layer we can add on? Like I mentioned before, let's do post-game interviews. Okay, let's do podcasting. That was the sole focus. And luckily, Lifetime and credit to their CEO and founder, Brahma Krati, he saw what we were doing and he saw what we were doing was different. And we were trying to make it a 7-day-a-week experience as well. So, product is the most important thing. I think if I would have had an exit strategy for Ultimate Hoops, it probably would have been as successful. And I think I would have started it for the wrong reasons. So, I think that is the biggest differentiator is your product and focus on that. If you focus on that and make that better every single day, even if it's this much, you give yourself a really good chance of being acquired because you're automatically making your business different every single day.
Yeah. Uh, Before acquisition, what was the at the peak? How many employees did you have at the company?
Oh, we were very small, Andreas. I think there was 4 of us.
Okay.
Because again, we were just based in Minneapolis, so we were
Yeah.
acquired just over a year. So very soon very early into our start, we were acquired, and it was the perfect timing at the right time. Lifetime saw Ultimate Hoops as a membership acquisition and retention play because we saw we were keeping these basketball players not engaged 1 hour a week, but 7 days a week, and treating them like NBA players online. And I looked at Lifetime and what Brahm was building, and he was building these like NBA quality basketball courts within Lifetime, which I said, this is a perfect brand synergy, right? So it was a great fit for both sides, and they've been amazing partners. It's the best company I've ever worked for in my life. And though I'm not attached to Lifetime officially anymore, they're still my closest friends, and they're just amazing company, amazing product, and a great fit for Ultimate Hoops.
Yeah, Lifetime just built a really cool live-in, like work gym
Yeah.
type space in Coral Gables. But the reason I ask how many employees, because I'm always fascinated with like bringing on employees as a founder, who you hire, how you hire them, why you hire them. So for you, in your time of hiring people and bringing people on, what's a piece of advice that you follow, or what are some of the core principles you look for when bringing on talent to work for you in any of your ventures?
Yeah, I think my best employees have always been the ones that have loved the product. I think that's been the biggest motivator. The ones that are there and they're just looking for a paycheck, they usually don't last that long, and they're usually not that invested in it. Luckily, Ultimate Hoops was a pretty fun company to work for, and what we're doing each week. So I think that right away is when you're interviewing anyone, it's always about why do you want to join this company, right? But then dig into that, like what would a great day in the company look like? Explain that to them as well. So I think people that are really aligned with what the mission of your company is, and most importantly, what your product is, I would always start there.
Got it. Um, and then, like I had mentioned before we got on camera, I want to give you the ability to pitch the consulting service, like a soft pitch. Um, when it comes to the ideal customers that you work with or the ideal individuals that you work with, what does that look like? And on top of that, what is the process of them to get in touch with you and reach out if they're listening to this right now or watching this and think that a conversation would be a good fit?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I think, we work primarily with startup and small to mid-sized businesses, right? That usually makes up the majority of the sports industry space that we're involved in. So I always encourage people just to go to arltconsulting.com, and we have a pretty easy lead form process for us to engage with us. You'll see our core services there, but we always start with a very simple lead form because every business we're finding is a little bit different, not only with the products that they're selling, but also what stage they're in. So there might be some that have already started and they're looking for growth. There might be some who are looking for investment. So we work with companies on investor decks. And there might be more established businesses that have been around 10 or 15 years that are looking to innovate more and become more tech driven. So we have some of those businesses as well. But the quickest way is just go to our website, altconsulting.com, fill out a lead form, and one of us will reach out with you within 24, 48 hours and have a quick conversation.
Awesome. I love it. So if anybody's listening, that the link to that website will be in the description below, along with all of Alan's information. But Alan, I told you before we got on, I always end my episodes with the same question. And I think it always brings a good answer and a good little end conversation. But for you, you've had an amazing career. What would you tell the 18-year-old Alan if you get a chance to go and talk to him again?
Stop worrying so damn much, probably would be the easiest one. I've always kind of taken risks in my life, so I haven't, I might worry on the inside, but my actions don't really map that, right? So for me, I knew I wanted to live in New York, but I didn't have a job. I didn't have a place to live out there. I moved out there and found a job at Turner Broadcasting, luckily as well. So I always tell people, like, listen to what is driving you internally, what you want to do, but also take very pragmatic steps in your career as well. So if you know you want to be in the sports industry, doesn't mean that you necessarily have to start your own sports business or work at Nike or Adidas out of the gate, right? Like, keep that inside of you, and until you have that opportunity or that spark to start something, go in and get real tangible experience, tangible skills, and find out where you want to do something in business, right? You may want to be something in sports, but maybe you don't know what part of the sports industry you want to lean into. You can get a lot of that by just starting on a company and getting started. So stay curious, pay attention, and make sure you're looking at all different sides of the market right now because things are changing daily.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I love that answer. Um, like I've said a few seconds ago, I want people to be able to connect with you if they think it's a good fit, or if maybe they're just interested in being part of the industry and want some advice. What are the best platforms for them to reach out to you at?
Yeah, I'm very active on X, LinkedIn as well, a little bit on Instagram, but that's mostly family and stuff. So if you want to see me having a good time with my family, you can certainly connect with me on Instagram as well. I'm also getting close to publishing a book as well about how to start a recreational basketball league as well. That should be out in the spring. But again, I'll have information about the book on the Arlt Consulting website, and I'll announce it on X as well. But yeah, those are kind of the main social networks that I'm engaged in is X, IG, and LinkedIn.
Awesome. So for anybody listening or watching that's interested in connecting with Alan, Those will be in the description below, LinkedIn and X, and his website as well. Reach out to either of those, go check them out. But Alan, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for having this conversation with me. I learned a bunch. I'm excited for what you're building, and I've got a few people already, like I said, in mind that I want to connect you with, because I think that you're in a unique space, and it's a pretty cool place to be.
I appreciate it, Andres. This has been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you for sticking around for the episode. That is it for the podcast, and we will see you on the next one.